Hey everyone, it's me, Ari.com Rashid. I'm your anthropologist and zoologist. Please hit the like button, share this video, subscribe to the channel, become a member of the channel. You can check my novels on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, also the search engine of Walmart and other places where they are available. If you wish a one-on-one consultation, please check the fees and information in the description box. Hey, and don't forget, you can donate the links below. There's a PayPal link and a bank link. Thank you much for your contributions. The ministry needs it. Anyway, quick video. In the past 12 years, I've been on YouTube. I've seen YouTubers rise and fall. I've seen YouTubers being here today, gone tomorrow. A lot of people deleted their own channel because the fame became too much for them. There were also YouTubers who got arrested for murder or other crimes. Then there were YouTubers who died away, some by diseases, some even made a vlog, talk about their physical health decline. Then one day they were gone, and loved ones would go to YouTube channel to say, oh, this individual passed away, thanks you for all support while he or she was still alive. Then there were people who just went missing, so likely foul play was involved. Then there were people who were actually murdered. Yes, there were quite some YouTubers who were murdered out there because their stardom on YouTube triggered bitterness in a lot of people, and it were the people around them that took them out, people they never expected. So I see a lot happening, and just understand the following: YouTube is on the internet, but just because it's on the internet doesn't mean it's not in real life. Okay, YouTube is a digital platform. It's not a small website somewhere by some college students. YouTube is a worldwide international platform, and YouTube is an empty platform, which means they rely on the content creators. People make accounts. If you don't make any content on YouTube, YouTube has nothing. YouTube does not produce anything. They offer a platform, and then sometimes even offer courses, I've noticed, to people already content creators and help them further. However, without content creators, they're nothing. Simple as that. They do have community guidelines because they need to abide by the laws of the land where they operate. Apart from that, YouTube doesn't bring up anything itself. All right? We keep YouTube relevant, and YouTube is a relevant factor in many people's lives. There are people who would have never broken through in their musical career, but because they went to YouTube and got a lot of subscribers, suddenly they have a record deal or they were able to start their own record label. There were people that had loved ones that went missing. It became a cold case, and because it went to YouTube, so there were these true crime YouTubers who are not detectives, they were just fanatics who were about solving crime, who decided to assist voluntarily, and even some cold cases were solved because of this. So YouTube has become part of daily life for many people, not only in the Western world, also outside of it. All right? Now, as I told you before, I came to YouTube where they aim to make around 40 videos, explain the depths of the spirit world, and then just leave. And continue making movies, all the other creative things I wanted to do. Now, life went differently. As you know, I suffered PTSD without even being aware of it. For 2.5 years, couldn't finish my bachelor's degree. So I had to postpone a lot of the things I wanted to do. During that time, it was actually by accident. I developed this career as a novelist. So now I have 22 novels out there, so that's a big shift that happened. I obtained not 1, 2, but 3 master's degrees eventually. I even lived in South Korea for a while during the global health crisis of 2020. And before that, a year before that, I was in Guatemala doing research by myself. There was a dream that came true. I mean, if you've been down for years and it wasn't your fault, and now finally things are working out again in your life, and you could finally do something you always wanted to do, doing independent research in Latin America, my God, I was happy with that. Absolutely. As you go back on my channel, I made some videos while I was in Guatemala too. Maybe I did some live streams, I'm not sure anymore. It's a while back. And also, I ended up working at the government for a moment. I ended because I began to work towards my PhD, which that process was not an easy one. I'm still in the process. I mean, yeah, things have gone a bit slower than I expected and than I anticipated. Nevertheless, I'm working on it. Things getting better and better. There are people looking at my research proposals right now. Sometimes it takes weeks before you get an answer from a professor, but hey, it is what it is. Okay? I expect things to be swiftly and quickly like during a master's program because it's multiple masters, but hey, this is different. I also ended up participating in a heritage project, not really a heritage project, but really a social cultural project about female ancestry of the Caribbean. It's a project that goes on in the Netherlands I also took part of. So a lot happened. I moved around places, even went abroad for a while, living outside of it. I learned new people also, the people that disappeared from my life. So a lot happened, okay? When I started this channel, it was 2013, in February 20th, I was, let me see, I was 21 at the time. Because I was born 7th of August 1991, so 2013 is when I turned 22. I was 21 at the time. My age now is 33. I'm about to turn 34 later this year in summer. Okay? So it was in my early 20s all the way to my early 30s now. Those are the years where most adults go through most of their development. I'm not saying that after your 30s you can't develop, of course you can, but for most human beings, these are the core years of their lives when they actually are shaped into what they're becoming long term. And yeah, now things did not happen the way I wanted. I had some delays, some attacks, at diversions here and there, but I learned. It isn't the YouTube channel that made me learn everything I've learned, but because I became a YouTuber, and I thought I would call myself that because I became a YouTuber. Oh, and by the way, I never thought I had the talent to explain things in front of a camera. There was a high school teacher who told me I had the talent, but I didn't believe it. But anyway, here we are, 7,000 uploads further. And let me tell you one thing that I learned both being on YouTube for 12 years, as well as the developments that happened in my life outside of YouTube. When, by the way, my presence on YouTube did trigger other things to happen in real life because, hey, when you are breaking through, getting more influence, there are going to be people resisting your influence. So, me being on YouTube did cause some retaliation against me. So, yeah, I kind of notice a lot also. And I share a lot of my insight also on YouTube with you guys to assist you all. But let me tell you one thing, one key thing that stuck with me over and over again. With stuck with me, I mean, it's something that it really got through to me multiple times. It's a lesson you have to keep learning over and over again because something quite important. Because in daily life, you tend to be distracted and forget about this. Or maybe it's because I was still in my 20s, so I was still developing as a young adult. Maybe that's the thing. But I've noticed even people who are in their 40s and 50s that I've spoken to who don't really understand this. And let me just explain to you what it is. You can only guarantee by own effort that you will become better. I'm talking about your attitude, your mentality, what type of human being you are. You can decide, man, I want to be a better human being. I want to be a safe human being. I want to be more trustworthy. I want to be more of quality. You can do that. It's an internal decision you make, and then you act it out in your physical body here on earth. You stay away from certain people. You move away from certain friendships who are toxic. You begin to learn new language. You begin to read the Bible more. So these are the actions you take in the flesh, in the physical, based on what you decide internally. You can do that. You can decide, I want to be of a good influence on other people. You can do that and actually be a good influence on others. There's one thing you cannot do. And that is you cannot improve other people. You can't. Look, when I started this YouTube channel, it was still the Obama era. and all the change was ongoing back then. Then, during the Obama era, you also had the rise of the right wing and the far right. You had the refugee crisis in Europe and all of that. And then you had the Trump presidency, you had Brexit happening, a whole shift in the Western world. But that ended up being disappointing to a lot of people. But then you had the pandemic also of 2020, which caused a lot of disturbances, rise in domestic violence, people fighting over toilet paper and all of that. You had the Biden era, when the Russian invasion of Ukraine began. I don't talk about Crimea, I talk about the east of Ukraine. You had then, 2023, you had the Israel-Hamas war that began. At the time of recording this video, there is a ceasefire in place. That's a bit fragile, but thank God it's still in place. A genocide occurred also in Gaza. So, yeah. Things change in the world's politics. Also in societies worldwide, there's been changes that happened. The world's still the world, don't get me wrong, but there are shifts that took place that a lot of people aren't willing to get along with. And why am I mentioning this? Because you would think that people would be sensitive and alert to notice the shifts that are going on worldwide and to adapt. No, they don't. Some people still live like it's the 1970s, when they were in the young years. Even though they're elderly like right now, already retired, whatever, in their minds it's still the 1970s. Some people, in their minds, still the early 2000s, the Bush era, when the war on terror began. Around that time, the quality of entertainment was, I won't say more decent, but it was more focused on quality and culture. Things were commercial back then too, but since 2015 and onwards, you notice this hyper focus on profit. Also in the entertainment world. So a lot of people are kind of in love with entertainment, with the music world, the movie world of the late 1990s, early 2000s. Some people even had their teenage years back then. Now my teenage years occurred in the early 2000s because I was born in 1991. I'm what they call a late millennial. I'm from that generation. But some people born in the late 80s, so some of their teenage years even began in the 1990s. So anyway, there are people who are holding on to the late 1990s, early 2000s, even though those times are gone. What I'm saying is that a lot of people are not in the here and now psychologically. They're not. Some people are still stuck at the breakup with their ex-wife or their ex-husband, or maybe ex-boyfriend, ex-girlfriend, whatever. There's a sexual breakup that they went through and they aren't over it. Yes, they may have married someone else right now, they have children right now, but mentally they're still stuck at that moment. I mean, stop assuming that everyone is in the here and now psychologically. A lot are not. I'm telling you, a lot of people are not in the here and now. Now, when you walk outside, physically, in reality, they're near and now, of course. However, psychologically, they're in a whole different timeline. Do you know that there are people who still have a version of you that doesn't exist anymore? I mean, if you have a mobile phone, like I assume many of you have a mobile phone in this day and age. Let's say you have a mobile phone, or let's say even a smartphone, like a tiny computer, and you install an app on it. Let's say you have the app of Instagram. You know from time to time there are updates to the app of Instagram. If you have the Instagram app from the year 2014, and you try to open it right now, it may not work at all. Why? Because Instagram's algorithm and software change a lot over time. So for you to ask Instagram right now, you need the newest app. You need to update it. If you don't update it, you're going to use Instagram. Now, why am I using this parable over here? You understand where I'm going. Let me give you another parable. Let's say 20 years ago, there was this Chinese restaurant you often went to. They made delicious Chinese food. Now, 20 years later, you come there again, thinking the restaurant will be there. The restaurant is there, but the previous owner passed away. Some other Chinese individual bought it over, and now the quality of the food is far lower. Well, guess what? The restaurant may still be there. The restaurant is still there, but the quality you used to get 20 years ago is not there anymore because the same people who were quality people are not there anymore. You can still go to the restaurant if you want, but you have to deal with the new situation. Or let's say now you have an old classmate that used to live on an address, and now you visit that place and you saw completely different lives there. Yeah, because your former classmate moved out a long time ago. Well, of course you moved out. What I'm saying is, in life, you ought to be up to date. You can't go to an address where someone used to live but don't live there anymore. If you keep sending mail to an address where someone doesn't live anymore, it can be considered harassment or stalking or whatever, because especially people may claim individuals live here anymore. Imagine you keep receiving mail addressed to someone who doesn't even live there anymore because you live there now on that address, or someone even passed away. You're going to think, well, hold on a minute, what the heck is this? I need to report to the police, rightfully so. Well, it sounds weird, but a lot of people in daily life that you encounter, I'm not saying everyone, I didn't say that, but a lot of people you encounter in daily life, they're not in the here and now. And in my 12 years on YouTube, that's what I noticed about a lot of people. There were people I met online, not just through YouTube, but also through LinkedIn and other places, Instagram, all of that. And were people I met actually at the bus stop or at the university, or I met people abroad also. Listen, people I met both on the internet and in real life. Not real life, it's just out there, I mean, because the internet is real, so it affects life. I've noticed this with quite some people. They're not psychologically in the here and now. And let me tell you one thing. When someone is not psychologically here in the here and now, miscommunication is bound to happen. Now, if you work with someone like that at work and they need to help you out as a colleague with getting some work done, you can do that superficially. Of course. If you are playing a video game at an anime convention or a Comic-Con convention, whatever, this is just having fun, superficially can do that. But when it actually comes to daily life, being involved, in the long run, miscommunication will happen. Why? Because this individual, even though they're alive right now, I mean, the only moment you can be alive is right now. I mean, those that pass away, they'll be alive again when Christ comes back and resurrects them. But for now, in the present, for those who are here, they're alive right now. We hope they're alive tomorrow too, even though we don't know that for sure. If they're not a believer walk by faith, we know that for sure. But anyway, they're alive right now. So yes, they're alive right now, but their mind is not in here and now. So at some point, these people can refer to you based on the timeline they're operating in. Let's say someone still holds on to the Obama era, and right now we're under the second presidency of Donald Trump. And a lot of things have gotten worse in the United States by now. And when you talk to someone, maybe your father-in-law or maybe a business partner, and they keep talking as if Obama is still in office. He may be talking about some of the programs that were put in place during Obama's time and how good those programs were. But then you tell them, but listen, these programs may have worked back then, but right now the situation in the United States is far worse. So we have to do this differently. We can't go back to that time. But the thing is, anytime you talk to them, it's like it doesn't get through to them that that era is not here anymore. Listen, such an individual, you can only deal with them on a superficial level and remain peaceful with them. If you go on a deeper level with them in the long run, you will face miscommunication and conflicts. Okay, let's go further. Do we know that there are people out there today that still have a version of you in their head that doesn't exist anymore? I just wanted to say that earlier, but I'm about to say it right now. Just like you have the Instagram app, the Facebook app, the LinkedIn app, or the YouTube app, all these apps on Android and iOS, they have to be updated. But if you don't update them, you can't use the app. Well, let me tell you. It could be that in the past, you used to be involved in the occult, or you used to be involved in the streets, or you had addictions going on, or you were a bit antisocial, whatever. Anyway, you were worse off in the past. But over time, you improved. You became a better and safer human being. You became of quality over time. Now, people who encounter you now, they have to admit you weren't always like this. You developed into this, so that's being realistic, being factual and true. However, you're not how you used to be. Because in the here and now, this is what you are. Now, if you were still the same dysfunctional or damaged individual, that would be different. Because that means that your past has continued into the present. Or if you became worse than how you were in the past, because you became a reprobate, okay. The past continued and you became worse. But if you've improved, you're a better superior human being today, that address you as you are today. Now, don't get me wrong. If your past was so dark that in your past you knowingly or unknowingly harmed a lot of people, guess what? The people you've harmed may still carry the consequences as long as they live. Okay? For example, if you got out of prison for murder, you served 20 years for murdering someone, listen, during your time in prison you improved. And now you're a totally different man. Guess what? The individual you killed is still dead. They're not coming back. The wedding they're about to have, the children about to have, the impact about to have, the birthday parties, all that, they didn't have because you killed them. Simple as that. And the relatives will always have to live with the fact this individual is gone. So those people, even though you improved, they may be happy you improved, but it doesn't take away that the loss is still there. So even when you improve, if your past was quite dark, there are going to be people who still are going to be a bit uncomfortable with you. And you know what? You need to accept that. You need to accept that. Okay? Anyway, they can't address you anymore like what you used to be, because you're not that anymore. But do you know there are people out there who just don't want to do this? They refuse to address you how you are right now. Maybe you used to be a party girl in the past, going to from nightclub to nightclub, sleeping around here and there. You were always there in the streets. You have been passed around all of this. And now you are a married woman, loyal to your husband. You have a business together. You have a family together. You became a stepmom to his older children. You have children too. You are a totally different woman now. You've improved. You have become quality. So yes, that part happened. And if there was damage done by you, unknowingly or on purpose, that damage will still be echoed around in prison. That's true. But guess what? You account for your past by improving. If people don't accept that you've improved, it is because they had an investment in how you used to be. They were looking down on you when you're still in the streets hoeing around or being passed around and all of that. They were looking down on you to feel better about themselves. So they had an investment in you declining. But so they expected you to either die in that condition and become a vague memory, or they expected you to stay that way or become worse right now so that they are guaranteed narcissistic supply so they don't have to look at themselves. But because you improved miraculously like that, what excuse do they have? So now they have a mental breakdown they're going through because their self-worth relied on looking down on other people to feel better about themselves. So these type of people will not be happy with a new version of you. They won't be. And you know what? That's none of your concern. There's nothing you can do about that. That's them. Because they're on a different timeline. They are not in here and now. Now look, this video was meant to stay short, but I'm already 20 minutes later. Anyway, what I want to share with you is that during my YouTube career, and by the way, I'm still on YouTube, I'm not leaving, but since it's in the past 12 years on YouTube, both what I saw on YouTube and out there, what they consider real life, I'm telling you, a lot of people out there will not improve for the better. And there's nothing you can do about that. Absolutely nothing. Now, you can still be of a good influence onto them. You can pray for them, walk afterwards from a distance. And your good influence may keep them alive or slow down their self-destruction, which is good. However, you're not guaranteed that they will ever improve, become better. There are even believers who will not improve during his lifetime. It's one thing for a worldling that's unsaved and was sent to the lake of fire to not improve. But to have a believer who has Holy Spirit in them not improving, that's an embarrassment. But you also have embarrassing believers out there. They are not going to improve for the better. Now look, I'm going to give a parable right now. Okay, the video may be longer, but you know what? So be it. You have this guy called Jack. Jack is in his 40s, late 40s. Jack is married, he has 4 children. And the 4 children are all in their teenage years now, heading towards adulthood. His youngest is 15. The oldest is, well, the oldest one's already an adult. She's 19. So, okay. So Jack now and his wife, they're at the funeral. A colleague of Jack, that Jack worked with at the police force, she passed away. She was a detective, an excellent one, a hard worker. She got into some domestic violence situation and she was taken out by her partner. And when Jack heard this, he thought, what? You mean to tell me that Carla got killed by her partner? The same Carla who arrested over 300 hardened criminals? This woman who was a veteran too, she served in the military for a few years. You mean to tell me this tough woman got taken out by her boyfriend? Yeah. But here they are at the funeral, and Jack saw the coffin with her body in it. He walked by and then continued. Then he also saw how they lowered the body in the ground at the grave. And funeral was over. In the weeks afterwards, he would walk by in the office just to get some files for some police work. And he would see the office that used to be Carla's office. The office was empty for like 2 weeks. In the third week, another detective came in from another jurisdiction to take in her place. And people at work, they still had a little memorial at work honoring her. But apart from the memorial, people just continued life, coming to work, going. The new detective was incorporated into the team. The new detective had a different style. But anyway, Jack remembered all the fun times he had with Carla. He remembered her being open about her relationships problems and all of that. He also met Carla's parents and some of her former fellow students. And the thing is, Jack still had a hard time believing Carla was gone. And the main Jack realized, you know what, he'll be gone one day too. He's chilling through. The thing is, Jack already knew that as a human being, you're born, you will die one day. And Jack is a believer. He knows that Christ will resurrect all of us eventually. Nevertheless, he never really let it get through to him. But anyway, that funeral was an eye-opener towards him. Carla was gone. There was no text message come from her anymore. He had no way to call her and reach to her. There was no way she could ever get married, because she planned to marry her boyfriend and start a family, all of that. But anyway, that will never happen. She'll never be a grandma. She'll never see her grandchildren because she's gone. And why am I giving you this parable? Because just like this Jack went to this funeral and it forced him to improve how he lived life, let me tell you, you have to go through an emotional funeral, realizing that there's going to be a lot of people you encounter in this lifetime, whether they are friends, family, relatives, or just colleagues, or travel mates on the road. There's going to be a lot of people you encounter that simply will never improve for the better. They're not all bad people, okay? Some of them are believers. They're saved. And they're not evil. They're not horrible people, none of that. But the thing is, they're toxic because they just don't outgrow their naivety. I mean, they're actually declining. They're not bad people directly, but they're declining. And guess what? You need to accept they're not getting any better. Some of them will likely die long before they should because of health issues or depression or whatever. Look, when you encounter people like this, even though you see they have potential, you need to realize that potential is a possibility, but it's not a probability if the individual himself or herself isn't interested in becoming better. Someone can be talented to sing, but if they're not interested in developing themselves, that talent will go wasted. It's not going to be used properly. Someone else who have less talent to sing, but still talent to sing, may become a famous artist or reach a lot of people with their voice. Someone could be excellent in mathematics, but because smoking weed all day long, they may end up in prison, or they may end up dying for the time to violence in the streets or at the nightclub, whatever. It's something you need to accept. Potential is the possibility to improve and expand and influence other people. That's potential. Not every potential is used. There was this preacher from the Bahamas. By the way, I'm not endorsing his teachings because he had some errors in it that really didn't add up. But anyway, his name was Miles Monroe. And, I never met him in real life, no. I just saw him on YouTube and in other places. Then I heard the news one day that he passed away because of some airplane accident. I thought, oh, Lord, I hope this was not the paranormal thing. But anyway, he's gone. But it's one thing he often said in his preachings. And he said like this. Actually, there was a question asked. What is the richest and most wealthiest place on the earth? And it would give people the audience time to think. Some will say a bank, others will say an investment firm or a gold, whatever. And he said the graveyard. And at the graveyard, you have a lot of unused potential. Books were never written. Moves were never made. Relationships were never started. Children, families they never came to being because the children were not born because the people didn't come together. Because they were afraid for rejection, so they never called an individual. They never asked an individual out. They never got a relationship. Never happened. I'm just paraphrasing right now, but he was saying that the graveyard is the wealthiest place on the earth. Millions and millions of people die without having lived to their fullest possible potential. Even if you've lived to half your potential, it will still be something. But the graveyard is the wealthiest place on earth, unfortunately. Listen, when I heard this question and his answer, it inspired me. He also used to say, don't die old, die empty. So make sure you fulfill your life's purpose. Now, the only thought wants us to have long lives, okay? Old, it means you're falling apart and declining. That's what old means. Now, we shouldn't die in a declining state, absolutely. But the way he said it seems like he was promoting dying at a young age. No, I know he was also promoting that. That's why I'm phrasing it in a better way. Don't die declining, even though you lived long in your body. When you die, make sure you not only lived long, but you also fulfilled your life's purpose. So that when you die, there's not life you could have gained. You did all you could do. Look, some people say this guy was a false teacher, this and that. Listen, I'm not going into that right now. What I'm telling you is that as a believer, you have to accept. Just like in this parable, Jack had to accept and process that Carla was not around anymore. It was over. The same you have to accept it's over with a lot of people. Now, they still may be alive. It's not that they pass away, but it's still alive. But because it's very unlikely to improve for the better, you need to bury that dream you had of them becoming better quality people and you joining them once they're better. You need to give that up. If there is no proof in reality that they're even interested in becoming better and reach their potential, I'm telling you, what you're expecting, hoping for, is a fairy tale. It's worse than a fantasy. It's a straight up fairy tale that will be holding you back too. Look, I'm not telling you to just cut all these people off, ghost them, all of that. You can still have contact with them, but just know it has to be in a superficial way. You can still be loving towards them, but they can't go in full depth. Because this individual will likely not improve for the better. Now, some will. But what if they're improving 10 years from now? Are you going to stay yoked with them in their darkest 10 years at your own expense and expense of other people you have to care for? No, you're not going to do that. Look, this is something I've witnessed in my life also. And this has nothing to do with YouTube. I need to share it over here. Sometimes God himself will block people from your life. Why? Because the Heavenly Father sees clearly these people aren't interested in improving for the better. They're not interested in development, not interested in being better and safer and more quality human beings. But they'll fake it. And these people will fake it just to keep you around. And by doing that, they're dragging you in their misfortune. And when their misfortune begins to harm you, they will act so surprised like they know what goes on. And you're thinking, what the heck is all this happening towards me? Now, these type of things happen in the world. When you're serious about doing the will of the Heavenly Father, the Heavenly Father will block such people from you. They may see you in their phone, but anytime they're typing a text message, their fingers freeze, or their phone breaks down when about to send the message never arrives. Or it could be to see you on the street, and they're saying hi to you, but somehow their voice is muted, and you don't hear anything. Or maybe it's the other way around. You see them on the street and saying hi towards them in a very loud way, but they simply didn't hear you. You think they're ignoring you. No, they actually didn't hear you because the Holy Spirit blocked communication between you and them. There are going to be people that the Father will block from you. Sometimes even fellow believers, because they're either stuck in distraction or they still not delivered after such a long time. When this happens, believer, rejoice. The Heavenly Father sees that you're moving forward and this individual is not. And can two go together unless they agree? No. You can't carry this dead weight of their misfortune with you. So the Heavenly Father forces you forward. He does. Again, you cannot guarantee someone else will improve. Now, what you can guarantee by your own effort and effort of other people around you can contain them, either in prison or in a mental asylum, or, God forbid, you take their life. Don't do that, it's against the law. Even if it's capital punishment done by the government, I still don't agree with it. Human life is precious. But those are things you can do. You can block them, take their life, or imprison them. That's how you can contain them. Now, I don't condone taking their life. Hell no, absolutely not. Just know that you can guarantee harming someone. You can guarantee blocking them, censoring them, put embargo on them, and contain their behavior by putting them in prison or whatever. That's what you can do. You cannot improve someone. They themselves have to want to be better. If they lack the desire or motivation for want to be better, now you can still coach them in the hope you can trigger this in them, but if it's not there, it's not there. Stop seeing things that are not there. Let me say it one more time. Stop seeing things that are not there. And a lot of believers have this problem. You keep seeing things that are good that aren't there. You keep seeing positive qualities that don't even exist in someone. And some of you have this with your parents. Some of your parents already passed away. Some of your parents are still alive while you listen to this. Some of you whose parents passed away, you have these loving, kind memories of your parents. And I'm not saying your parents, whereas your mom or dad, were not kind people. They weren't good, all of that. But listen, if they were not fully delivered, doing the will of the Heavenly Father, that means that over time, they became toxic. It doesn't mean that they were evil, harmful people, that they were narcissists, all of that. But listen, they neglected themselves. And by doing that, also neglected you and everyone in the environment. Now, the neglect may not have been fatal unto you, but listen, they were disobedient to the Heavenly Father. Okay? But you keep talking about them like they were the best people ever. Now, I understand you want to have good memories of your loved ones who passed away. Absolutely. So even if they had faults, you're not going to keep highlighting their faults. I get that. What you also have to do is you need to be real about who they were. In this, because they are your parents, they shaped you and how you turned out as an adult. Now, of course, as an adult, you were you weren't just influenced by your parents growing up, you're also influenced by other people, people at school, maybe at church, maybe at work. Even as an adult, you're being influenced by other people. And as an adult, you have the ability to say, I don't agree with how I was raised. I want to change. So, of course, they didn't fully control how you turned out, but it had an impact on you. So you need to reflect, what type of people were they? Now, if your parents are still alive, reflect how they were when you grew up. If your parents improved right now, rejoice if improved. But if they didn't improve, or if back then they were worse off, admit that, because they shaped you while they were worse off. You need to be real about your parents. Not just your parents, you need to be real about everyone you encounter. What am I dealing with? What am I dealing with over here? And some of you believers, that is your problem. This is a problem encountered with so many believers. The problem is not Satan, it's not the fallen angels, it's not even what they call the Nephilim spirits, it's not the paranormal at all. It's not even society. It's not even the criminal world. It's not even sin itself. It's not the secret societies. No. With a lot of believers, the problem is them holding on to a fairy tale. If you are married to someone, let's say you're a woman, you married your husband, and while you were married already, you became a believer, because you were not a believer when you got married, but during your marriage, you became a believer. And now, because your husband is a decent man who wants to avoid trouble, you thought, hey, he's a decent man anyway, so it's very easy for him to recognize Christ. That was your assumption. But then you saw people who used to be hitmen for the mafia or the Mexican cartels. You see people who were actual terrorists that blew people up. You see people who were deep in satanic darkness becoming believers and motivated. And then you have your husband over here, still being agnostic, still being atheist, or still being, I'm not sure, I believe in something. And you think to yourself, what the hell? Listen, your husband is a delayed reprobate. He's not a reprobate now. He's still a decent man. Listen, the moment your husband passes away, it's over. Because at the resurrection, he'll be a full reprobate within seconds. He rejected the Heavenly Father. So he has become reprobate slowly. Now you, being a positive influence in his life as his wife, you are delaying his reprobation. That's what you're doing. But by doing that, you're also holding yourself back. Because you could be married to a husband who's also a believer, and you can improve with him and impact the lives of other people for the better. But now you're unequally yoked with this delayed reprobate, and you are being drained by him. But you still think one day he's going to wake up and accept Jesus. Lady, you are holding on to a fairy tale. Snap out that fairy tale, lady. Build reality. Your husband most likely will not become a believer. He will not improve. He'll get worse, but you may delay him getting worse, and that will be at your expense. And by doing that, you're also blocking other people who would rely on your gifts. Your gifts and talents are given by God to you to minister to the community around you, especially to fellow believers. But now you're not doing that because you're so distracted looking after your husband, who likely will go to lake of fire anyway. Hey, I'm just keeping it real with you. On the other hand, your wife may be a delayed reprobate. Even though she is still considered a decent woman by the world standards, she's still not a believer. She's a delayed reprobate. She's not a full-blown reprobate right now. You, being the husband that's a believer in her life, you're delaying it. And that has a good effect on her, but by doing that, you're wasting your time, talent, and effort that could have been otherwise used in better areas. Look, I'm not a marriage counselor over here. I'm just telling you, the moment you are involved with people and it has been proven already that likely they will not improve for the better, or it's not probable that they will, I'm telling you, why are you still there expecting better outcome? You either accept the less that's there, or you just leave. Simple as that. But you're not going to keep expecting the better while proof is in your face that the better will likely never happen. You are stuck with a fairy tale, bro. If your wife, after years of witnessing your growth in faith and your improvement, still is being hesitant with admitting, Father, I'm sorry, but you staying with her says a lot about you. And I'm not saying that your spouse doesn't love you. Your spouse loves you in a worldly way, the best to their ability. But true agape love, pure love, they don't have. Their love has narcissistic expectation at the root. That's the best gift. Narcissistic affection, that's what you're getting from them, to the best of their ability. And you know what? They don't have bad intentions towards you. They really care about you. But nevertheless, they're hindering you. Look, let's go further. Let's say you have a son or daughter, or even a grandson or granddaughter, and they've been involved in crime for a while, or they've been involved in the streets for a while, they've been involved in a toxic lifestyle, whether it's a lifestyle of fornication, prostitution, whoredom, or just getting into fights all the time, or whatever. At some point, you need to realize, okay, if it's one of your own children and you did the best you could to raise them to the best of your ability, guess what? It's not your fault if they chose the dark side later on. But if it's probable they've chosen dark side, you need to adapt. It may be hard, but you need to adapt. It's a grandchild, it's a bit more distant from you, but you need to adapt to this situation. It could be miraculous they improve one day, but don't wait for it. Again, I'm not telling you to give up on people. Now, some people, you have to give up on them, especially if they're already reprobate. Because keep holding on to them, it's going to harm you. What I'm saying is, I'm not telling you to treat people like they're a lost cause. If there's still some chance they can improve, you pray for them. You may not be involved with them in person, but you can pray for them, absolutely. And have a good impact on them. Just know, your faith does not guarantee someone else will improve or get better, not even their fellow believers. Let me give you one more parable, and then I'm going to close this video. Oh my God, it's almost 50 minutes now. But anyway, I don't care. Look, you have Jessica. Jessica and her husband, they attend a funeral. It was the funeral of it was the funeral of Jessica's school teacher. It was her favorite school teacher during high school. Now, it's been 25 years since she graduated high school, and now she is at the funeral because when she was a teenager and there was domestic violence happening at her house with her parents, this teacher really helped her out, genuinely. Now, the teacher was not a believer, but nevertheless, during his early life, he did good to his pupils as far as he could. So, as you expect, the funeral was packed with people. There were even people who just got out of prison, and they remembered how this school teacher, even after they graduated high school, wrote them a letter to prison, telling them to improve. This teacher became like a father figure to a lot of people. So now he passed away. The funeral happened. The body got cremated. Ashes were spread around. Jessica and her husband leave. When leaving the funeral, they were able to talk to some of the other attendees. And Jessica encountered one of her former classmates. And she says, "Hi, Linda." And Linda sees her, gets scared, and says, "Hi, Jessica," and she just leaves. And Jessica was thinking, what the heck? And Jessica made an excuse, she's likely still sad about Mr. Smith passing away. But her husband tells her, "Darling, I don't think that's to do with the passing of Mr. Smith." The husband immediately realizes something worse is going on over here. Okay, long story short. One day, the police came to Jessica's home. Her husband was there too. And the police told them they're here because of the murder of Frederick Smith. And Jessica says, "What, Frederick Smith? You mean Dr. Frederick Smith?" The police says, "Yeah." The police says, "He was your high school teacher for 2 years. And as we understood, you were close with him." And I said, "Yeah, well, we had this funeral like 4 months ago. What is this?" And the police tell us, "Listen, we did 2 autopsies on the individual, And we came to conclusions individual died due to a crime. So we started an inquiry into his past. And we need to talk to you about something. And Jessica thinks, okay, about what? Do you remember the police? Oh, do you remember a woman called Linda Meyer? She was an immigrant. Her parents were immigrants from Germany. She was in the same class as you, and Jessica, yeah, I remember Linda. Oh, sorry at the funeral, but she was quite distant towards me. I said hi. She said hi back. Just kind of ran away. Why are you asking about her? And then the police tells her, listen, Linda was involved with the teacher. And you say, what? What is this? The police repeated it. Linda and Frederick were a couple. And then just says, no, hell no. That can't be. It can't be that it's great Frederick Smith was a pedophile. Come on now. The guy was 24 at least when we first saw him. I mean, we were still 15 at the time. Come on now, no. This has to be mistaken. She might be lying. And then the police asked her, have you spoken to Linda after graduating? Well, I spoke to her a few times, but she got busy and all that. Then the police showed her some reports of some abortion clinic. She had 2 abortions. And the abortions were in the same time, around the same time that they graduated. In the same year, they graduated high school. And she was, and she asked the police, so why are you showing me all of this? Miss, we need to tell you, this man that passed away was not who you thought he was. And Jackson said, what do you mean? There are a few children he had made over the years, and were all out of wedlock. And some of these children he made with colleagues at work. Others were some of the students he taught. Now, the students were already above 18, but still. And so at this moment, Jessica told the cops to leave, please, because she didn't want to talk anymore, and the cops left. Jessica now has to process this. It was hard for her to be at the funeral, because she considered this guy to be like an older brother figure for her. But now she has to realize that what she knew about him wasn't the truth. It is true that this teacher was constructive towards his students, towards many of them. It's true, he motivated a lot of students even after they left high school. He stayed in contact with them. Those things he did were true things. He helped out quite some people. At the same time, this man had a problem with lust. He also had a porn addiction, and eventually he crossed the line in, you know what I mean, he went too far with some of his students, and he got arrested, but then released because there was lack of evidence. And the thing is, he felt sorry about a lot of things he did, and he did go into therapy to deal with his problem with lust. Nevertheless, the damage was already done. And he stayed out of prison because there was not convincing proof of the felonies he committed. Nevertheless, he decided to take all his dark secrets to the grave with him. Because he knew if this information came out, it would heartbreak a lot of people and cause depression in a lot of people who had a good image of him. So he took all this to the grave. Linda also decided to take to the grave that she was involved with her teacher while she was not of age yet. Because she knew this teacher had a good influence on people, so she kept it to herself. But the thing is, Jessica now, it's like she's going to a second funeral. At the first funeral, in real life, physically, she said goodbye to the teacher who passed away. Now, she has an emotional funeral that the whole worldview she had concerning this man was simply not true. Now, she has to accept that her former teacher she was so close to was not only a sex offender that managed to stay out of prison, he was also a manipulator and someone who kept a facade. Now, he did do some good things for people. That's true. That, however, doesn't cancel out that he refused Christ, that he refused salvation. He was on his way to hell all along. He just had a good performance that convinced people he was a great guy. And to a lot of people, he was a great guy. And for a lot of people, he will remain a great guy as long as they're alive in his lifetime. They'll pass on the memory, they'll pass on the remembrance of him like he was a great guy to their children and grandchildren, even though that great guy reputation isn't based on anything real. It's fabricated. Look, Jessica now is reliving her whole past now concerning this man as she has to reframe every memory she has of the guy. She cannot continue to have this loving, great image of the guy while in reality he was not what he appeared to be. She would be lying to herself and to other people. Now, she did make peace with the reality of what he actually was, because nothing she do about it, she can't change the past. He lived his life, he became a reprobate, he refused Heavenly Father, he'll go to like a fire for when Christ comes back. It's over, it's done with. She has to continue living life, knowing that she was mistaken about the man. Now, her husband is noticing more about the situation. Her husband then told her, Jessica, listen, if this man was only put up a facade, but was actually a pervert behind the scenes, don't tell me nobody at the school noticed anything. Don't tell me nobody over the years picked up anything about him. And then Jessica thought, hold on a minute, you're right. So Jessica realized also that she could have been tricked by him. She could have been impregnated by him. It could have happened to her, and she was quite vulnerable at the time. And that scared her. She thought, what? I was around this pervert all along? And there were people aware that he was a pervert, and they saw me getting close to him because there was domestic violence going on at home. I was in such a vulnerable state in my late teens. And people just didn't intervene, just saw it unfold. And her husband told her, yes. She could have been traumatized for life by this man. Now, for some miraculous reason, he was not innocent in you like that. And he actually wanted to do something good. And he did. And it helped you out. But it doesn't mean he was a good man. But then, there was another emotional funeral that Jessica had to go through. Now she had to accept not only was the man she thought was like a brother figure onto her, totally not what she thought he was. She has realized now that she was actually in danger both at home and at school, and neither at home did the community intervene to stop her parents, neither at school did people intervene to stop this predator. So she had to go into therapy for weeks and took her months to get back to her mental well-being, because it was a lot for her to take in. Hey, now, this is just a fictional parable, just to teach you. In real life, there are complicated things like this happening. I hope this doesn't apply to you, that you will never have to go through multiple emotional funerals, but it happens. If this occurs to you, if this happens to you, that you have to go to an emotional funeral because the new information received, it either contradicts what you were holding on to for a while, listen, go to emotional funeral. Don't hold on to a timeline that first of all, doesn't exist. Secondly, never happened. You should be fully active in the here and now. In the here and now, I'm telling you. Look, even if someone that you were close to, an individual passed away, they were an actual great soul and all of that, they were a great individual, listen, their life had a great impact on you for the better. That's true, but they're not here anymore. So you can cherish those memories, cherish the good influence and they had on you and the effort they made for you, absolutely. Whether it was a parent of yours or an uncle or some other individual that became important to you. But if they're gone now, they're gone. You are still here. So you need to make peace with that and continue. Well, the same way, you need to make peace with some people not improve. And let me tell you one thing. There are people out there who were against you all along. Okay, this is really the last thing I'm saying before I close down this video. There are people out there who never liked you. They couldn't stand you. But the thing is, if this comes out right now, it's going to make them look bad. Let's say back in the day, you were still struggling, you were still dysfunctional, you were still damaged, all of that. And people used to look down on you and use it as an excuse not to look at themselves. So they became invested in your decline. They had a negative investment against you. And people talked behind your back, murmured, complained about you, they didn't like you and all of that. A lot of people did that. You went through a huge mental breakdown. And afterwards, you had your breakthrough. Now you had your breakthrough. You think people want to focus on my life after the breakthrough. No. People going to say, okay, well, how did you come to this breakthrough? Oh, you had a mental breakdown? How come you had a mental breakdown? What was ever in your life? So now, outsiders and strangers who hear about your life think, oh my God, they did this individual dirty. They did this man dirty or they did this woman dirty. So if now, these people that never really liked you in the past, it could be to change their mind about you. But the fact that for years they were negatively invested against you means they contributed to things getting worse with you if you have this mental breakdown, will almost cost you your life. So if this comes out, how do you think those people are going to look? You think people are going to praise them for being honest and real about history? No, people say, hold on a minute. So for years you had an issue against the individual? Were you correct? Did you address an individual? Did you try to work it out? No. You were just projecting your unrest on another individual, causing harm to another individual. The individual survived, now the individual is breaking through, and now magically, out of the blue, you change your mind about them. It's going to make them look bad because they're going to lose all credibility. And let me tell you, if they're married by now, their marriage may fall apart. Because the wife or the husband of this individual married them because of some view they have of them. But now that this nasty behavior towards you, that he did towards you comes out, it may destroy the foundation of their marriage, and the marriage may fall apart. They may end up in a divorce. If the children involved, now you have children with trauma of divorced parents. If the people are involved in the business world, it may mean a bankruptcy even. Because they have a bad reputation now. As someone who took advantage of someone who's mentally ill, guess what? Their business partners may end the deals with them, the partnerships with them. Their business may lose customers because nobody wants to be associated with someone with a bad reputation. So they may end up going broke, becoming homeless. And if they have children, their children may now suffer their decline also. So they suffer at hands of their decline, I mean. So let me say it like this. You've broken through. You're improving. You have more influence. Anyone who contributed to how bad things were with you, and they haven't improved a while back, they only improved now, this so-called improved, they didn't really improve, but suddenly they changed their attitude towards you now that you have all this positive attention. It's just because they want to save their own skin. They don't want to face consequences for disliking, hating you, or being against you. So let me tell you, these people, some of them will fake it in your face like they were always supporting you secretly, all of that. Now, there are people who have been supporting you behind the scenes secretly all along. Such people exist. They're genuine, good people with good intentions. They've been supporting you behind the scenes all along. Those people exist. But not everyone when someone comes out and claims they've been supporting you all along is actually real. Some of them just want to cover up for how they contributed towards you because they know it's going to backfire on them. And other people like that, they will completely disappear from your life. They will completely disappear. Because anytime your life is mentioned, and people do an investigation to your life, they will show up. They may not show up by name, but maybe they were an old classmate of yours or ex-colleague or whatever, or old associates. So it's very easy for people to figure out that they were involved in your life in the wrong way. Some of these people may even delete social media altogether. They will move to another country. Why? Because that aversion, that dislike and hatred they had towards you, there's no way they can justify it. There's no way they can justify holding on to it. And this also reveals to them that they rely on other people being worse off. They rely on victimizing people for their mental health. They don't want this all to come out. They don't want to have to go through they don't want to go through mental breakdowns, the loss of reputation, loss of income, and all of that, and people turning on them. So they will avoid you and bring this secret with them to the grave. That's why there's some people who just disappear from amongst you like that, and you never see them again. They on purpose will go far away to avoid you, because any mentioning of you may trigger the exposure of the bad attitude they had towards you, or some of them still have, and that means they will lose everything. And they're afraid of going through all these consequences. Well, no pity for them. They shouldn't have been negatively invested against you anyway. If you were troublesome, they had to address you and come to a solution. And if you were a reprobate, or if you were not cooperating with solutions, they should just avoid you or call the cops on you or whatever. But you're not going to be negatively invested against someone over and over again, not realize they're a human being just like you. What is this? How many people have you done this to? How many people are still willing to do it to? Some people will stay silent about you because their participation with you is not something they can be proud of. It's not something that's worthwhile to even write about in history books. So don't be surprised that after a big breakthrough in your life, especially financial breakthrough, it's not just financial. Maybe if a breakthrough, you finally got married or whatever, or maybe you expect your first child, whatever it is, expect that after any great breakthrough in your life, there are going to be people going fully silent on you. Leave them alone. Let them bring that information to the grave with them. If it comes out before they die, it will not harm you. Leave them alone. Leave them where they're at. Don't look them up. Don't try to reconcile with them. They're not worthwhile to reconcile with. They didn't even acknowledge that they were wrong, and they may have admitted they were wrong, but they never acknowledged that them being wrong means they need to repent and need to make amends. They don't even ask for forgiveness of that. Now, you should forgive people anyway, whether or not they ask for forgiveness, because forgiveness is about you and your future self, so that you don't remain damaged and become worse over time. But the thing is, the fact alone, they don't even care about getting forgiveness or amnesty, means that, listen, these people are just wasteful. Some of them are just doomed to the lake of fire anyway. Some of them are even believers. They'll be chastised without being fought for it. But anyway, it's none of your business now. Your business is to move on in life. Some people have contributed to harm in your life, and if this comes out, everything they have is finished. Even if they've repented, the fact that for years they're involved in that negativity, it makes people feel and think about them a certain way. Some people will not mention you. They will even mention they used to know you or they know who you were. Especially if they neglected intervene on your behalf. They'll stay silent about it. They'll take that with them to the grave. There'll be family dinners where they talk about their past colleagues, past people from high school, past people from university, and they will make sure they never mention you. It could be that decades from now, there's a grandchild asking, a grown grandchild, 20 years old, asking her grandfather, Grandpa, you keep mentioning you studied at Leiden University when you were younger, and all that. But hold on a minute. How did you know Ari Dossett? Because he studied at Leiden University around the same time you were there. He even did the same master's like you did. You never heard of him? And he did multiple masters at the university. It could be that wherever this grandpa is someone that actually knew about me, but because he, together with some other people, negatively invested against me, and despite that I broke through, things backfired on him, and he doesn't want that to come out. He wants his children, grandchildren, his spouse, his in-laws, all to see him as this upstanding man with boundaries and all of that. That negative attitude towards me coming out, and the fact I have repented from it for decades, wow. It will even harm his children and grandchildren, because now everyone will see what type of low-life man he has been his whole life, up until his old age now. So even the good reputation he had will be gone, and both his children and grandchildren benefit from his good reputation. I'm just telling you that I hope something like this never happens, but what I'm telling you is that you need to start looking at the bigger picture. You being alive now isn't just about you. Your life affects other people. How people relate to your life also affects them and other people too. There are people that will avoid you because how they treated you, if that comes out, there's no way they can be built out from the consequence. The consequence also harm other people around them, and maybe other people around them figure it out, and they don't want to keep it silent. They don't want to keep it silent because they know if it comes out, not only will this individual suffer the consequence, but also them who are now involved with the individual. Even though they were not part of what the individual did in the past, they'll still be affected when it comes out. Don't be surprised if there are people out there who are acting like you don't exist, because your existence alone may trouble them. Just be okay with that. Well, that's it for now. Keep on in Christ, be at peace, and I'll see you in my next live stream. Shalom.